Hi, in this video we're going to look at the most important team skill in basketball, the pick and roll. If teams utilize this skill correctly, they are unstoppable. Unfortunately, it's rare for a team to execute the pick and roll cleanly and completely. It takes team commitment to learning and executing this team skill before you will see its full potential. The power of the pick and roll move comes from its ability to create a size or speed mismatch, or a 2-on-1 advantage for the offense near the basket. Though the pick and roll sounds like a two-step move, pick, then roll, it's actually a 5-step move. In order, the moves are close, pick, cut, roll, and pass. Let's watch the pick and roll from start to finish, and then we'll focus on each of the components. First, the close. It's very hard to pick a moving defender, so freeze your defender first by closing the distance between you. If your defender backs up, you continue to advance. Once your defender has backed up as far as they will allow, then the pick can come in. By getting close to your opponent, you are setting them up to be completely picked off by your teammate. Second, the pick. As the picker, protect yourself. You're going to get hit. Girls should assume the position on the left, and boys should assume the position on the right. Keep your hands and your arms inside your body. Resist the urge to stick out an elbow, a hand, or a hip to slow the cutter's defender. You'll just pick up a foul, unless you're in the pros. In that case, referees seem to allow just about any kind of contact. If the cutter takes a line that's too wide, that's his problem. Third, the cut. Don't leave for the basket too early. Let the pick get set first. Use the location of the pick to show you your line to the basket. Cut directly off your pick. There shouldn't be any space between your shoulder and the picker's shoulder. Better yet, take a small piece of your picker's shoulder with you. Your shoulders should be aligned in a straight line as you pass by each other. Once you clear the pick, turn and drive directly to the basket. If another opponent picks you up, look to dump the ball to your teammate, who should now be wide open under the basket. Fourth, the roll. Once the cutter has passed the picker should roll in the direction of the cutter. If the cutter has made some contact with the picker's shoulder, the picker will already have momentum in the right direction. The roll is a reverse pivot and a giant step toward the basket. The reverse pivot and giant step give you immediate separation from the cutter's defender, who you just picked. Your giant step should be in the direction of the basket, so adjust the amount of your pivot to make that giant step a natural one. Look at the ball the entire time you're pivoting, so you can be ready to receive a pass if your defender picks up the cutter. And last, the pass. If the picker's defender picks you up, redirect your drive slightly wide of the basket and pass back to the picker as he rolls to the basket. This pass should take place very quickly, while the defender is switching to pick you up. Bounce passes work better than chest passes or lob passes. The best pass of all is a bounce pass directly off the dribble. Dribble once, then pass. 2 dribbles past the picker is usually too many. At that point, you should probably just muscle the ball to the basket. Now let's look at some mistakes. If the cutter doesn't close properly, the defender can easily step over the pick and continue to guard the cutter. If the cutter leaves before the pick is set, this can result in a moving screen violation, or allow the defender to stay with the cutter. If the cutter doesn't make contact with the picker's shoulder, this allows the defender to easily step around the pick or results in a blocking foul by the picker. If the cutter takes a line that's not directly to the basket, then they're no real threat and they're easy to defend. If the cutter dribbles too many times, the roller will be out of position or will be defended. 2 dribbles are too many. If the picker rolls in the wrong direction, it will create several problems. First, he'll lose sight of the pass he won't get proper separation from his defender. The move itself is very slow that way, and produces a bad line to the basket. If the picker rolls in the right direction, but too soon, this allows the defenders to stay with the cutter and with the picker. Instead, wait until the cutter has passed the pick before rolling. This will force the picker's defender to choose who to guard. Timing is key. Once the cutter has closed on his opponent, the picker has to start moving or already be in motion. If the picker waits too long, the cutter may have the ball stolen. Once the pick is set, the cutter has to take off. Wait too long and the cutter's defender will have time to step over the pick. As soon as the cutter is passed, the picker has to roll. Wait too long and you won't be ready to receive the pass from the cutter. The location and angle of the pick are also very important. If the picker chooses a bad angle, they can force the cutter away from the basket or into a trap. Let the position of the cutter's defender determine the location and angle of the pick. If the defender is playing directly between the cutter and the basket, pick them on their baseline side. If they're overplaying the cutter on one side or the other, place your pick on the center line of the cutter. In either case, pick at an angle which is going to give the cutter a direct line to the basket and make it very difficult for the cutter's defender to follow. This may sound complex, but it's really very simple. The location of the defender determines the location of the pick. The location and angle of the pick determines the line of the cut. The cutter then just follows the line that the picker has given them. Note that there are special rules for picking to keep things safe for the defender. The rules focus on whether the defender can see the picker. If the defender can see the picker out of the corner of his eye, then the picker can stand right up alongside of the defender, and you should. On the other hand, if the defender can't see the picker, then the picker must set up at least one step from the defender. This gives the defender a chance to change their route or stop to avoid a collision. As a picker, you should always get as close to the defender as you are allowed to by the rules. Let's look at screening, which is picking for someone who doesn't have the ball. It turns out that the same exact moves apply to screening. The only difference is that the picker should roll in the direction of the ball, which may not be the same direction as the cutter went. In that way, the instruction, "watch the ball," is always correct, while "watching your cutter" may not be. Once you have the technique down, then and only then, push the throttle higher and try to execute with as much speed as possible. If the precision of the move starts to suffer, slow down and re-establish precision. This fundamental, killer team skill absolutely requires precision. Speed is secondary. In summary, there are 5 steps to execute a correct pick and roll. First, the cutter must close the distance between himself and his defender before the pick arrives. Second, the picker must get into a stationary pick position and orient himself to create the best line between the cutter and the basket. Third, the cutter must cut directly off the shoulder of the picker. Fourth, the picker must wait for the cutter to pass, and then pivot in the direction of the cutter and take a big step directly toward the basket. And fifth, if no defender guards the cutter, take the ball directly to the basket. If the picker's defender guards you, bounce pass to the picker. Don't hesitate. 2 dribbles are too many.